Hello, thank you everybody for joining. You're here for this webinar. The topic is the African Space Program Promoting Participation in the Lunar Economy. With that, I will present our speaker who will lead the discussion on this topic. Dr. Antwara.
Hello, good afternoon or good morning.
There are 8 attendees here. Have any, let me know if you have any issues sharing your screen, if you have things that you can present, or if you will be done with just this.
Yeah, I'm hearing you very well. I don't know if you are hearing me.
We can hear you.
We hear you fine.
Excellent, excellent.
All set, ready to go when you are.
Hello, sorry, I'm hearing, I'm not hearing you now. I don't know what is going on. Yes.
You can speak.
Can I start, you mean?
Yes.
We're ready for you to start.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I really wanted to share my.
There's an item at the bottom of the screen that should say share screen, and you can share whatever presentation you have.
Yeah, I want to share my screen, but it looks like I should be fine now. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Sorry for these technical problems. Yeah, good afternoon or good morning all. I would say that this is an opportunity for us to present on the African Outer Space Program, which is a flagship program of the African Union Commission. And the African Union Commission is the secretariat of the African Union, which is like the European Union, and it includes the 55 African countries. Therefore, what we do it for the all African 55 countries. And the space in on the African agenda is guided by the Agenda 2063, which is our compass, we as a continent. This is where you have all the priorities for the upcoming 50 years, but started since 2013. Therefore, you have 7 aspirations, and all the 7 aspirations are supported by the space component. This is why space is the new African socio-economic development pillar. And the African Space Outer Space Program is a key element of the African Science, Technology, and Innovation strategy, what we call STISA 2024. And the STISA 2024 is a key element of the Agenda 2063, science supporting African sustainable development. And the African Space Policy and Strategy, which is translating the African ideas in terms of goals and strategic objectives, have been built and adopted in 2016 by the head of state and government of the 55 countries. And the African Space Policy covers and strategy cover 4 segments: Earth observation, satellite communication, navigation and positioning, astronomy and space science, and the space science. This is where we will be talking about the lunar economy if needed. And the African space policy and strategy, as I repeat, and I'm always saying, there are only two goals: how to bring all African continents and countries together, how to coordinate the space activities in Africa. You know, in Africa, we have three types of countries. There are some countries very well advanced. I'm talking about South Africa, Nigeria, Algeria, and Egypt, among others. And you also have the newcomers, Ethiopia, Kenya, Gabon, and Rwanda. And the big chunk are the other African countries. Even if they do not have space policy and strategy, they are big consumers of space product and services. Therefore, as a continent, we need to federate our efforts in using space product and services for the benefit of the citizens. This is the first goal, a policy goal. The second policy goal is to create a regulatory framework, because in Africa, all the countries, and it is not all the countries who have that have, I would say, space policy or space or data policy, all kind of things like that. Even in some countries, you do not have. So, therefore, we want to harmonize and create a framework in such a way African countries be able to do the space activities together. In terms of strategic goals, we want that space products and services be part of the African economic, political, social, and environmental challenges, addressing the economic, political, social, and environmental challenges. Therefore, in the heart of the decision-making process, to make sure that our decision makers have tangible, relevant evidence in hand in making decisions. On the top of all that, I would have started with that. It is to create an indigenous capacity, meaning a local, a continental capacity involving in people, human capital, but also in infrastructure. We'll talk about that. For us, in Africa, we are a new global player, for sure. But what is important, Africa is now the new El Dorado for space business. This can be explained by two reasons. It is the second biggest continent in the world with huge natural resources to manage. When you talk about superficie, when you talk about transboundary or transcontinental issues, space is one of the better tools to handle, to provide data and information that can help handling that. Secondly, the population is more than 1 billion inhabitants, and this population is growing. It is a huge market for space products and services. At the same time, 60% of the population is young, and they need to be trained, and they will create what we call the human capital for the space labor market. And it is clear that space can handle climate change and disaster risk reduction and contribute to the food security in Africa. The contribution of space sector to African sustainable development, it is just at three levels. It is to provide data and information to regulatory policy development and implementation. And secondly, to provide also data and information for socio-economic infrastructures and services development. And in addition, to assure the security of the people, territories, and goods in Africa. The world economy is, space economy, global space economy is 360 billion. In that, Africa, the valuation for Africa is only 7 billion, meaning there is a room for improvement and there are several opportunities that can bring us to there. But the projected growth is about over 40%. Now we have a healthy growing satellite. Every single year, African countries will launch satellites in collaboration and cooperation with other countries. GMS in Africa, we have a new way. In Africa, we are experiencing a new way to do Earth to implement the Earth observation in terms of sustainability, in terms of contribution to the sustainable development of Africa. How? What we do, we look at how African countries, institutions from different countries can work together. GMS in Africa being that program, continental program for the first time, all the 55 countries, I would say Northern and Sub-Saharan African countries are working together. We are talking about more than 120 institutions from 51 countries, 45 African countries and 6 European countries helping, supporting African institutions. And you can see the type of institutions involved in it. The principle of GMS in Africa, which is the new way to use Earth observation in Africa, it is to start with the need of the users and end users. And we, the space community, we are there to support them, to provide them with necessary data and information they need, not to ask them to do the work or to duplicate the work. Therefore, the spirit of service development is very key in the principle of the new way of involving Earth observation. As you see on the slide here, we just start with the need, and the data providers provide data and information on process the data to provide the important and key information the end users need to continue their work. In this context, for the natural water and natural resources, we have developed more than, I would say, 25 applications for water and natural resources across all the continents. And it involved 94 African institutions. And in terms of marine and coastal areas, because these two areas are, two services are the focus of the program, natural resources and water, and marine and coastal areas. For marine and coastal areas, we have developed more than 17 applications involving more than 25 African institutions. And as you can see, it covers the coastal areas and even the really marine component. The Earth observation, these are the players. Africa is full of players in Earth observation. It is one of the well-known space components in Africa because, for the last 3 to 4 decades, Africa has started its involvement in space arena through Earth observation, which was addressing directly the need of Africans and demonstrating quickly the importance of space. The Earth observation in Africa space industry, when you look at the African space industry, you see it is growing, but it still remains weak. Weak or low, I would say, not weak, but low, meaning there is a room for opportunities and it is increasing. That is something we have to underline here. This is an idea on the investment or the space budget in Africa from the national perspective. As you can see, countries are increasing their investment in space, and this is what we wanted to show you. Therefore, we have the new space private sector. In Africa, the private sector is weak in terms of space. Most of the time, we have the branches or the representatives of biggest companies from abroad. For us, this is something that needs to be changed because Africans should be in the driver's seat, and the African private sector should be leading the innovation in the continent. But that will not happen now. We are realistics. We need to empower our young people, but at the same time, we have to create the opportunities for the development of private sector. This is something very important. Now, the training, as I said, we need to develop the human capital. In developing the human capital, I would just say GMS in Africa allowed us to train more than 5,000 people. That is nothing with respect to what needs to be done. Yes, we have done over the 3-4 years something, but we need to do more. And more than 100 courses have been developed. The navigation and positioning, it is used mostly in the aviation areas, while agriculture and other sectors are almost empty. Therefore, this is also an opportunity to really use this powerful tool for other sectors. The satellite communication, when you look at that, the satellite communication, I would simply say that in Africa, the satellite communication area or sector is in the hands of foreign companies, which is normal because we were not there as Africa, but Africa is coming now. We need to shift or to reverse even the situation in such a way we created the African capacities and capabilities and infrastructure to make sure that satellite communication in Africa is affordable by African citizens, but at the same time is increasing African economy. And in terms of astronomy and space science, I would say that this is something where we really need to do a lot of effort because currently it is at the level of research and development. We need to move it from research and development to market. We need to move it from research and development to operationalization, to operational areas. Anyway, what I can say, space astronomy and space science should be removed, not removed, should be taken from only academia to community of practice to market. And we need to create and encourage private firms and public institutions to work together to develop this component. I think this is where I would say the lunar economy, we are making the link with the lunar economy in such a way we Africans have expressed our interest for the lunar economy. In 2019, a group of space agencies, space industry, etc., discussed in situ resources utilization, ISRU, in the context of African space activities and policy. This indicated clearly that Africa also is interested in. Now, the key outcomes from the ISRU workshop are here, and I want to read them. We have to respect the treaties. African countries need to build technical and policy capacity, etc. What Africa can offer, as I told you, it is a huge continent, and for that, we can offer launching sites, very ideal continent location, geographical location for our launching sites. We can also help tracking infrastructures. That is very important. We can provide grounds for analogy, analog missions, sorry, in inhabited desert. We have Sahara, we have the Kalahari also, and the skill set, that is very important. And as I said, we have to invest in the human capital to create more young expert in the lunar resources or lunar economy. The governance in the way forward, to be able to be there, we in Africa have established two things. At the governance level, we have established what we call the African Space Agency. It is a huge achievement. It will be hosted by Cairo, by Egypt, and the African Space Agency will develop all the continental programs, including Earth observation, satellite communication, navigation, and astronomy and space science per se. And the lunar economy will be considered seriously because when we were developing the space policy and strategy in 2016, some of the elements were not taken into account. Now, this space strategy, when it will be time to update that space strategy and policy, lunar economy and others with other sectors and elements with respect to space will be considered. The second point on the governance, the Pan-African University, we are finalizing currently with South African government the establishment of the Pan-African University for Space Science. That is very important to understand that in Africa we have what we call the Pan-African Universities. 4 has been established, the 5th one being PowerC. And coming back to the drive to the way forward, we need to drive the innovation. And it is important for us that the training is a key component. Research and development is a key component. This is why the lunar economy community should consider looking at the potentialities offered by Africa and the opportunities to make sure that together we build the case in such a way the private sector, the academia, and public sector work together for the for the interests of the African citizens. On that, I will stop here, and I'm ready for all questions and comments. Thank you very much for the opportunity you are giving us to present the African Outer Space Program, and we are at your disposal. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.
I think there was some background noise and we couldn't really hear you, Elliot.
All right, I was just looking to see if there was any questions. I do not see any. But happy maybe get a little bit if someone has some questions and see what's going on. With the speaker, please. I will take this up with you. Yes.
Brian, if you have a question, I have allowed you to talk if you want to ask it.
Hello, my name is Bryant Ezeamama Agubalu. I am assistant DSG in the Youth Empowerment and Development Institute of Igbo World Assembly. I just want to know how I get more involved with the space program, African space program, as a young African youth leader, and also who can I get in contact with? Thank you.
Answering methods. So let's do it.
Hello? Are you hearing me? Because I'm not hearing you. I don't know if I should intervene. I'm writing the answer to the question properly.
Here you find, sir. It's great that you put the email address there, but you can unmute, speak, whatever you need to. Does anybody else have a question, concern, thought, anything you want to share? As a result of the presentation. Go ahead. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to continue. I think, section. Thank you all for attending. Thank you for presenting, Dr. Oxford. Very informative. This session has been recorded and will be made available. Nobody has anything else? I'll let you go. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a very good evening and a very good day. Bye-bye.